Hi everybody, Jamie Dougherty here, and today I'm going to show you the way I go ahead and paint in my backgrounds when using oils on wood. Now some of you are probably wondering why I didn't go ahead and gesso the wood surface. The reason I don't do that is I like that the wood grain shows up through my painting. Also, if I had started this painting at home, I would have done an undercoat, which is like a primary color wash underneath my entire surface. But I started her at NAMTA, and I wanted to start getting her face onto the wood panel. So I went ahead, started blocking out her color. This is kind of my undercoat for her face. And in another video, I'll show you how I add in that detail to her face with a top coat of paint. But today we're going to go ahead and add in our background color. Also, I want to add some of my background color in so I know what colors I need to change in her face to make the painting blend well. All right. So the paints I'm going to be using today, this is my basic color palette. You can see I'm going to be using a lot of blue in this. It's going to be more of a cool painting. And the colors I'm using, they are all by the Grumbacher pre-tested professional oil colors are going to be the paints I'm using today. Now, I have a couple of the new colors. This one's not one of the newer ones. This is a greenish umber. It's a 1 series. It's a really dark green, but it has a blue undertone to it. So I wanted to use this for my darkest color. Then I also have the manganese blue hue. It's a nice medium, almost a cobalt blue color. And also that's a series 2 color paint. And then also I'm using the Arctic Blue, and that's also Series 2. It's a nice soft grayish blue color. Now, Grumbacher brought back the Superb A, and it's a Series 1. It's a titanium white. It's non-yellowing, which is nice, and it's a nice white to blend your colors with. So on their new packaging, if you go ahead and you look at their new labels, you can see here, on the new label they show 2 color tones. Basically what that is they've taken the oil color in the tube and mixed it with some of the Superb A. So it gives you kind of an idea of where your color is going to go once you start lightening those up. Now, one of the most exciting mediums I came across at NAMTA was this new medium W by Schmincke. And what this does is it turns your oil-based paints into water soluble. So you don't have to have the paint thinners and turpentines and all of that to go ahead and paint with oil paints. Takes a little bit of the smell away. I know some of you have an issue with painting with oils just because of that one factor. So this does help, and it makes it less messy. So this is for water mixability. And when you blend it with your paints, you're going to go ahead and blend it right into your paints before you start working with them. Or you can pull off like you would just dipping the brush in and then blending it in with your paints as well. But what it is 2 parts paint to 1 part medium W. You don't have to worry about washing your brushes out and making a big mess. You just wash them with soap and water, rinse them in your water tin, and you're good to go. So this is a really nice medium I'm going to go ahead and use. So here's the palette I'm using, and I'm just going to go ahead and add just a little bit to each well. I don't need a whole lot. I'm not going to add any to the white because we are going to be blending our titanium in with our other colors. Okay. I'm taking a pretty heavy bristled brush to create my background with. I'm just going to blend that in, those colors together with my medium W. You can also use a little palette knife. My little palette is small, so I don't know if I'll have enough room to do that. Now I'm starting out with my greenish umber, and I'm going to start right around her face. And I want this paint pretty thick because I am using it on a non-primed surface. sometimes that paint medium will bleed in between through the grains of the wood. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start right around her face. Now, if we cover some of her hair, that's okay, because we can come back in and redefine that with another layer of paint. I'm just going to go in and block out her face. Like so. Come around her nose. Now, working on the raw wood, it does take away some of the blendability for that bottom layer, but you can always add more paint on top. Just coming in and cutting in around her face. I'm going to cut in through her hair. Now, I'm usually a wet on wet oil painter. That's how I did a lot of her face. I'm really bad at patience, waiting for oil paints to dry. Right around her mouth. I'll come in with a smaller brush here in a second. To add in those little details. Okay, and again, I'm going over her hair. Her hair is dark, so I'm going to have to come back in and add highlights. So it's okay to go ahead and cover. I can still see where the form is with her hair. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mix some of my the greenish umber in with my manganese blue. Just a little bit in there and blend that together. Now don't be afraid to load your brush with paint. You want to be able, once your paint is dry, to see those brush strokes. And if you don't have enough paint on there, all it's going to do is leave it really flat. Now you can see here, I don't have a lot of paint on here, and so there is no brush strokes to speak of. And once it's dry, it just looks really flat and not really appealing. So I'm just going to continue that down right along her hair. Add a little bit of her lighter blue. And you could see how our layers are already building up with color. Okay. You just continue this all the way around. Make sure that you have plenty of paint on that brush. This is going to be my final layer for the background, so I want to make sure that I have the colors that I want in here. Again, I'm going to kind of blend these colors out lighter as I go further from the center. Add a little bit of my titanium white. You just blend the color back and forth. Bring it right in around her hairline. Going in with my Arctic blue. And I'm using the heavier bristle because I want to see those striations in the brush stroke. The softer bristle brush won't leave those nice heavy brush strokes. It'll soften the look a lot. Okay, we're going to come over here. I'm going to blend in some of our greenish umber. Take a little bit of my medium W that I have over in my Arctic blue, blend that in a little more. You can use it as a thinner to thin out the paint as well, which is nice because you don't have to have a lot of different mediums. You can use this one, just this one medium. I really like the richness and color with the Grumbacher oil paints. I don't have to worry about them not coming out the color I was expecting, which is really nice. Some oil paints you come across and you see sample, or you see, let's use a little bit more of the Arctic blue back here, and they just don't blend out as you expect. And their artist grade oil paints work really well and blend out really well. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit more titanium with my Arctic blue back here in this corner. Now when I go to paint the rest of her face, my background is really cool and her face is very warm. And it's probably a little hard to see in the video, but I'm going to have to tone down the warm tone in her face. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and rinse my brush out, get some of that color out, which is really nice and convenient. I didn't have to mess with it a whole lot. I'm going to bring in a little darker color over here. Okay, now we're going to go in and blend this out up here. Continue around. A little too much blue up here. I'm just going to bring a little more of my greenish umber, a little bit of my titanium, and blend that out. Okay, I'm going to come in with our little Arctic white. I'm going to add a little bit more to of our medium W. Just to blend that out a little more. Bring that down a little, kind of soften the edges of my greenish umber in here. Okay. My Arctic blue up here. This also helps me create the illusion of light on the canvas. So you'll notice that a lot of my light source comes from this upper corner. So when I go to finish her face and actually do my top coat of paint, I'll be able to create more shadow and depth in her face just based off of the color combination we're using on the background. Okay, so we're going to bring in some of her darker color back here. And again, it's not a big deal that we're going over her hair. Once that's dry, we can come back over with our darker colors. Alright. And you can already see just from the beginning of the video just how much the color of the background changes the appearance of her face. Now before she looked a little washed out compared to the wood, and so the background is also creating tones in her face that weren't apparent before. Okay, so we have our background in there. Go through and see if there's any little open spots. Now your wood background's going to grab, that natural wood background's going to grab your wood oil paints a little quicker than if it was just a gessoed background. So you may want to go back in. You may see some open spots where you didn't get the paint quite thick enough. And again, that goes back to making sure you use plenty of paint on your brush. Don't be stingy. Don't overwork your brush strokes, or you just keep pulling paint off instead of adding it. Okay. We've pretty much got this whole thing covered. And in the next video, what we'll do is I will show you how I can go ahead and add my top coat to her face and her hair. All right, thank you. Again, the products we used in this video were the pre-tested professional oil colors by Grumbacher. And the colors again were the manganese blue hue. That's a hard one. Series 2, we used the greenish umber Series 1. We also used the Arctic Blue Series 2. And we used the Superb A Titanium White. And this is a really good mixing base. That's a titanium, nice white mixing paint. Now these three are the newer colors. If you're looking for new color tones to work in, make sure you check out Grumbacher's 10 new colors that they just came out with. And also, if you're big in oil paints or you want to start getting into oil paints but you hate the mess, definitely check out the Medium W. This is one of my most favorite new supplies to have on hand. So the Medium W's by Schmincke, and you can find it at most of your art supply stores now. Thank you.